So we opened with the chairwoman's vision for this marketplace in New York. And this next Fireside Conversation is going to be the perfect bookend to round us out. So we're about to hear from the good people who are working to bridge the gap between the state's intentions and actual implementation. Very, very important. We're now going to hear about how to make sure brand partnerships and growth are both inclusive and intentional. So please welcome to the stage Gary Santo, Chenae Bullock, Laura Eisman, and Tanya Osborne.
Thank you. I'll stay at the end. Am I on?
How do you want us?
I'll stay at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, anywhere is fine.
I'll go to the end if you want.
You go here.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it's the end of the day, but we're not done yet, and some of you are going to be here for an after party, correct?
Woohoo!
So I expect some noise, okay? My name is Tanya Osborne. I don't want to fall off the stage. I'm Director of Community with Women Grow. Women Grow is a professional networking organization for women leaders in the space. I'm happy to be here moderating this conversation with Gary Santo, CEO of Untitled Holdings, Chenae Bullock, CEO of Little Beach Harvest, correct me if my title is incorrect, and also from the Shinnecock Nation, and Laura Eisman, co-founder of Her Highness, which is a cannabis accessory and everything brand. The conversation we're having today is really about social equity, supporting women-led businesses, and why it's so important for us to do that, and not just in a way where it's because we have to, right? As opposed to because we should and because it's the right thing to do, right? Yes. This is a class participation event. So we're going to participate. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have some questions, and if any of you have questions, we'll save it till the end. So what I'd like to do is everyone please take a moment to introduce yourself and your brand. We'll start with Gary.
Sure, my name's Gary Santo, CEO of Tilt Holdings. I joined Tilt back in 2020. I've been in the industry since 2019 when I was part of Columbia Care. So we are a multi-state operator, but not one of those bad ones you've heard a lot about today. We actually partner with a lot of social equity groups and brands to try to figure out ways to bring them into markets. We're not as big as the other guys out there, but I think our vision is a lot different. So hopefully we'll talk a little more about that.
Fantastic. Chenae?
Yes, Chenae Bullock with the Shinnecock Nation, CEO, Managing Director of Little Beach Harvest. And Little Beach Harvest is the Shinnecock Nation's wholly owned, 100% owned cannabis business. And we're really excited. We just broke ground, literally July 11th, to be able to have cannabis for our community and to others. So stay tuned.
And Laura?
I'm Laura Eisman. I'm co-founder of Her Highness. Her Highness is, I'd say, one of the few or maybe the only lifestyle cannabis brands focused on women. And so we create product in the THC space throughout the states. We're in 6 states right now in Canada. We have a CBD line, and then we have an accessory line that really spans both. That is in dispensaries as well as in stores like Urban Outfitters. So we're really appealing to women all over and bringing them into cannabis in a comfortable way.
Thank you so much. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. Thank you. Keep it going. Okay, so my first question is for Gary. So you have partnerships in place right now with Little Beach Harvest and with Her Highness. How did those partnerships come to be?
You know, I've never been one who believed in things happen for a reason. I always thought that was a cop-out. But when I look at how some of these partnerships evolved, it's hard not to at least think about that. And the easiest one is the Shinnecock. So, you know, we're in Pennsylvania, we're in Massachusetts, we're in Ohio with cannabis operations, and then we have a whole hardware division out west in Arizona. We were looking for ways to potentially get into New York, and an investor introduced us to Todd Bergeron and Connor Green, who then introduced us to the Shinnecock. Now, I grew up here on Long Island. I used to go to the Shinnecock powwow with my grandparents almost every year, so I know who they were. I had no idea they wanted to get into cannabis. But once we started to sit down and talk, it became clear that even if they were not an underserved population, even if they were not Native American, their approach is what you would hope any business getting into the space would be. Pragmatic, they thought it through. While they could make regulations on the reservation lands that they wanted to, they've chosen to mimic New York State where possible because they know that's the larger play. So exactly what you want, not someone who just says, I want to get into weed because how can you lose money? Because as we know, a lot of companies figured out very quickly and very fast. So, I think from that perspective, that's how that relationship came along. It's exciting what we're going to do. I'm glad we broke ground. When I think about the Her Highness relationship, they were our first brand partner. We were looking for this idea that brands are going to be the thing that wins eventually. It's not going to be all the big MSOs and everything. It's going to be brands. Someone will be Coke, someone will be Pepsi, and there'll be a lot of other brands that go with it. Trying to find those brands and work with them and push those really above anything we were going to do, that was our challenge, and Her Highness was the first one to take our phone call. So bad judgment on their part. But at the end of the day, we also launched them into brand. About 30 days, I think it was. We took some of your first products in there. So it's been fun. I think overall what we've seen are brands want to come into this space. There are a lot of operators who want to come into this space, and they need help. And we're happy to be able to provide it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the key that I took away from that is answer your phone,
Absolutely.
right? Answer the phone when someone calls. So I would pivot to Chenae. What does this type of relationship, how does it affect Shinnecock Nation, Little Beach Harvest? Like, where's the value for you here?
So the value for us is that, when you think of underserved communities, you think of communities that are in despair, you think of people that have gone through so many things and haven't had an opportunity. This is that we have been calling and they've answered the phone. This is saying, okay, we've heard you, we respect what you have going on, we understand, but we also understand what our responsibility is. There's a term called social equity, but I like to say social responsibility because we are first contact people. And so for us, this is not only going to provide jobs, but careers, the know-how. It's a full industry that we'll be able to emerge in with people who have had experience in that industry and sort of incubating us and taking us along the way, but also respecting our tribal protocols. Because you don't always see that sometimes with social equity partnerships and joint ventures, is understanding that we have our cultural ways, we have our understanding, we have our approach to cannabis in the industry, and how can they amplify that without the resources that we haven't been able to have. So for us, this partnership, I think, not only just for Shinnecock, but the town of Southampton, the village of Southampton, and the entire Long Island can see how do you work with tribes when it comes to an actual partnership. You don't really see that happening so much really in the state of New York. You see it happening sometimes through other states and how tribes have partnered on many different industries, but you're not always seeing that done right where we live. And so this, to us, is like an anchor and a model on how that can actually be done.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. I would ask the same question to Laura. What value do you place on this partnership with Tilt?
So we are a brand. We know how women shop. We know how women want to receive their cannabis, what cannabis can do for women. We're marketers. We're designers. And every time we go into a state for THC, we have to deal with manufacturers. We don't have a license, so we're partnering with manufacturers, with distributors. And so to partner with somebody like Tilt, and I do want to get back to that story because when we first had our conversations with Tilt about this partnership launching in Massachusetts, prior to that, we've only been on the West Coast, so we've been mostly in California, and also Nevada, but this was our first East Coast partnership. And when Gary said that they were going to launch us in 30 days, we were like, really? Because that was not our experience in other states. And so having the pleasure of working with New York, East Coast-based people is very different than West Coast. And it's a huge difference. But the minute we launched in Massachusetts, we did a soft launch. Gary was like, let's launch in 20 stores. Let's put the product out there. We're going to create little product. And we did it. It sold out immediately. We could not keep it on the shelves. Women were going crazy over the product because really it's the first time that you're looking at product and actually you want to use it. You know, I've walked out of so many dispensaries because I'm not comfortable with the shopping situation. I don't see products that I'd like to purchase. And so putting Her Highness out there is huge. You know, it's really, it's almost like a test. Like, you know, will women come? If you build it, will women come? And they will. And so we experienced the product selling out. And what Tilt came to us to help the situation. We couldn't go forward. We couldn't supply the demand. And so Tilt stepping forward to create our packaging is going to make the world of difference. That's what it means.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So Gary, in selecting these partnerships, because obviously there are going to be a lot of brands looking for relationships, what do you look for?
So for us, we look for some type of depth of brand architecture. If you're just a celebrity weed brand, you're going to come, you're going to go. That doesn't get us excited. But when you look at the brands we work with, so, you know, obviously we have what we're doing with Shinnecock. We're going to be developing a brand with them. But with Her Highness, our other brands out there, we have Old Pal, who they have a very big lifestyle brand that's out there. Toast, they have a unique hook in terms of their slices that they have. Timeless, known for their vapes. Black Buddha, can't forget Black Buddha. We're going to be launching them in September along with Heisman, those of you who know Ricky Williams. So there we're going to be doing some very strain-specific and experiential pieces. There's a depth to that. There's an origin story that works for us. That allows us to take product that was selling maybe in California under certain regulations and bring it to the East Coast because we know packaging's not going to work. We're going to have to change things, how we say it, the formulations. But how do you stay authentic to the brand so it's not just the name and the logo and that's all you get, it's the whole experience. And that's why we have to be a little bit more discerning when we look at these brands. Do you have that authenticity? Do you have that depth? 1906, that's our other brand, can't forget them. They have they don't have a ton of products, but the products they do have are special and everybody loves them. You know, so there's a place for them there. And I think those are the kinds of things we look for.
I love 1906. Hope they come to New York sometime soon. Okay, Chenae, I wanted to pivot back to the groundbreaking. And obviously the Shinnecock Nation is an indigenous community here in New York State. And I'm imagining that there may have been some pushback or concern with forming these partnerships. What was the feeling of the tribal members?
So, you know, I'd like to say my job is easy. No, I'm kidding. Or it's hard. But at the end of the day, I think just like in any community, right? Any community, when you look at the generations, everyone has their own idea of cannabis. So as soon as that word comes up sometimes, it's not always a comfortable conversation sometimes because it just depends on where people are sitting. As we've progressed through the industry, a lot more people are comfortable in having that conversation. So prior to Tilt even coming on board, it was back in 2015 and 2016 that our tribe actually came together as a nation to really vote on that. You know, and that's not something that the public knows. That's not, you know, you guys are knowing that now. But we worked really hard as a community to be able to come together. And if there are any tribal members in the audience, we know what it really takes to bring our community together. And we were able to successfully do that. Whether there's pushback or not, the tribe came together to vote on something that we agreed on, and that was cannabis for our community. And so this business, Little Beach Harvest, was created out of that vote and that idea, and that's what we're setting forward to go and do now. So that's where you have the license that the tribe would issue Little Beach Harvest as opposed to the state. And that is something that there's not really any pushback on that. The tribal we are very proud to be able to assert our sovereignty and exercise our sovereign rights on our land, to be able to teach our community about cannabis without the stereotype, without the stigmatism, and to sit around with many of our elders and our relatives to hear the history of cannabis from their experiences. there's more of comfortability in sitting down to be able to do that. I think sometimes, I won't say the word, I wouldn't say that we're getting pushback. I think that there's sometimes a lack of education from the outside to even understand how we even operate as a tribe, the fact that we can even do this without a license. So I think it's opportunities like this to be able to speak and begin to educate more and more, and then we'd have less pushback from the other side.
Because you're right, the pushback is not necessarily pushback, but more so than I don't understand. You know, I always say the path of least resistance is usually education to medical and how to use plant medicine. And thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. So Laura, why do you feel it's so important to support women-led businesses?
Many reasons. You know, when I first got into cannabis about 5 years ago, you know, people were talking about how cannabis was this opportunity for women, you know, to have C-suite jobs and to create companies and be entrepreneurial and get into the business. And, you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't like that. You know, it may have started that way, but that's not the case. And so it's hard for a woman to get into cannabis, but, you know, if I speak generally, as a woman entrepreneur, you know, women just don't have the same access to funding, and, you know, it's just harder for women to start a business. And I would say this is a male-dominated business, you know, absolutely. And so to kind of have been doing this for 5 years, I am just a huge supporter of bringing more women into the business. It's needed. There are so many statistics that we all know about, you know, businesses, women-led, that are more productive. There are just many reasons. Also, the fact that we are a for women, by women, which means that we know what women would like to see, and there's not a lot of that. There are some men who are just slapping pink labels on something or some glitter, and that's not going to do it for women. You know, we are not girls, and, you know, there's thought that goes behind every single product that we create. So it's generally just bringing that women's point of view and perspective and having it come from a place of authenticity and intention. You know, that really takes two women founders, which is what we are, to bring that into the industry. And, you know, like I said before, I wish there were more brands that were women founded that were in our position. Right. And I'd like to see more. And what we try to do is create a women's area in a dispensary so that more women can join this, and that, you know, from the consumer perspective, women can feel comfortable and know that there's a section for me, and I'm going to go to this section and I'm going to see products that I'd like to purchase. So.
It's so funny that you say that. If you were part of the event at the Javits Center, Women Grow had a Women Grow Pavilion where we showcased 30 women-led brands, and they gave us a little area in the back of the convention center. And I saw people walking down the hall, and they'd see like a bunch of women, and then their eyes would light up, and they'd like beeline past every other booth to get to a shopping experience led by women, for women, and it was magical. So I'm going to piggyback with that to you is, what would you share with investors as to why they should, why it's so important to partner and or invest in women-led brands?
Sure. I mean, women-led brands, I think social equity brands, these things are hard. They're hard to launch for a number of reasons. Any brand you try to launch in a normal world is going to be difficult. You put that in the cannabis world where the regulations change state to state and minute to minute, it's almost impossible. So whenever we talk about leveling a playing field, we always talk about the easy parts. Let's let everybody have a license. Okay, now you have a license. Let's even give everybody $1 million. You can't build a dispensary for $1 million. So now what happens? Now you've thrown everybody into the deep end of the pool and walked away. So you've got to take risk. And I think what's interesting, what investors should realize is that risk can't be guaranteed. When we finish building the dispensary and the cultivation facility for the Shinnecock, we won't have a stake in that, an ownership stake. There's no special clause that we get to pull a ripcord and suddenly take ownership of it. If they don't like what we're doing, we're gone and they have the facility. That's the risk you have to take, and then bring something to the table so that you don't get kicked out. It's not that hard. It's basically business 101. So I think you have to be willing as an investor and as a company to take that risk, lean in, identify when you see quality folks like the people you see here on the stage today that have a good idea. Don't just put money towards someone because they happen to be a woman or because the color of their skin. That doesn't mean it's a business model. There's plenty of people trying to prey on that out there today. Ask the tough questions. The good ones are going to have the right answers, and then take the risk to go along with them.
Now that deserves a round of applause. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. Chenae, what's your vision for Little Beach Harvest and the Tilt Partnership?
So my vision is that one will really be able to scale. I'll let that plane go.
Yes, sorry.
Good old Hamptons jets, right? Private jets, that is. My vision is that we'll really be able to help our community learn business at this capacity, right? We've never been able to own and operate something at this level in the last 400 years, right? We've been whalers, we've had wampum, we've traded seeds, we have been some of the wealthiest people on these shores. But when there were laws made against our way of living, we were forced to live in underserved ways. And so now this is a really great opportunity to revitalize that wealth within us, but be able to do that within an industry that so many Shinnecock people are extremely passionate about and have a historic tie to that. So with that, learning even just terminology in the industry, learning terminology in business, understanding that it's not always just the plant touching that is an aspect of the business, but there's various other ways. Also, being able to have our community members have their hands in the operation, but also the plans and the ideas and things of that nature. I mean, if you hadn't had a chance, when you get a chance to walk over to our booth, you see some renderings. And a lot of those renderings have come out of conversations that we've had about our culture, who we are, and all of those. And that took the conversations between tribal members. So the vision is that this isn't a vision necessarily just for Chenae. I've just been yeah. I'm like, maybe they're going off the other way. But this is something that I want to be able to do the best I can to carry out the vision of all of my community members as much as I can through every aspect of the business. And just show them that what they've been doing and what they've been passionate about can be supported. Business to business, you have the tribal business, and then you have the individual tribal members that have businesses and have aspirations. So being able to see what business looks like for the tribal business to do business with individuals that will help to scale their businesses. And then have a circular economy within a community that doesn't receive a lot of the support sometimes from the outside governments. Because we have been grant funded from our wellness program, education program, our elders program, medical, to roads, all of the thing that any other government would have, we have as well. But it takes grants. And so this here would drive enough revenue to support our community that we sometimes have fundraisers for. That is extremely important. So my vision is to be able to have that pillar for our community to be able to create new businesses and new opportunities.
And it almost evolves into a greater thing because I have a 15-year-old son who now wants to study botany. Thank you, Jesus. Right? And I think that over time, you're going to have education programs within the tribe that are going to create that new generation of cannabis leaders and people that can teach and educate and so on and so forth. So I think it's also a really wonderful cycle, all right, so as we start to wrap up, thank you. As we start to wrap up, I want everyone to just let us know where we can find you and anything we could do to support you. I would start with Laura.
You can find us at Her Highness NYC on all social media, our website, herhighness.com. And yeah, just check it out and purchase. You're supporting women.
Shanae?
Yes, you can actually go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Little Beach Harvest, at Little Beach Harvest, or you can visit littlebeachharvest.com, or you can also visit our tribal website, which is the Shinnecock Nation. And also we have our powwow coming up, the 76th annual powwow, where we will be there as well, Labor Day weekend on the Shinnecock territory.
And for us, you could find us, our corporate website's www.tiltholdings.com, but we also are on social media under Tilt Holdings, but also our individual companies that work. So our Massachusetts facility is Commonwealth Alternative Care. In Pennsylvania, we're known as Standard Farms. In Ohio, we're known as Standard Farms. And our hardware division is known as Jupiter Research. So I couldn't even tell you how to hashtag that around because I am anti-social media. But you could probably figure out some way to find it on the web. So.
And I am Tanya Osborne, Director of Community for Women Grow and founder of the Kennedy. I want to thank you all for sticking around as we wrap this up. If you're staying for the after party, go have a great time, and thank you so much.